Hey everyone, and welcome back. Tonight we're diving into an incident, a UFO sighting that really left its mark back in '74 in a small town called Forest City. And we've got some incredible stuff to go over. Declassified Project Blue Book files, first-hand accounts. I mean, this is really going to make you think about what's out there.
You know what really gets me about Forest City is that it goes way beyond those, those quick flashes of light that you hear about sometimes. This is like tangible evidence. Even the Air Force couldn't just explain away.
Right, yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so just picture this. Friday night, two couples, Cherry and Marcy, Clay and Ellie. They're parked on this quiet dirt road. Parker Woods, classic small town. Americana. And all of a sudden, they see this bright light, reddish-orange, descend into the woods. I don't know about you, but I'd be a little curious.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So Jerry and Clay, they decide to check it out. You got to remember, too, like back then, UFO sightings, they were all over the place. I know. But there was a lot of fear around it, a lot of skepticism.
Yeah, for sure. So what did they find in those woods?
Yeah.
They came back, visibly shaken up. Clothes were torn.
Yeah.
And they were describing, a sight that would send chills down anyone's spine. A giant, metallic, disc-shaped object.
And the way they described it, smooth, metallic surface, massive. I mean, it was like straight out of the movies. These weren't just kids making stuff up. They truly believed that they had seen something amazing.
So I'm thinking the cops must have been all over this, right? Well, not really. They're actually pretty skeptical. They thought it was teenagers messing around, especially since the high school had a bit of a reputation,
Yeah, small-town teenagers. Wild story. Easy to think they're just exaggerating.
Totally. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Air Force got involved. Project Blue Book. That's their UFO investigation unit. They sent Major Jake Gatlin and Sergeant Fitz to Forest City. They weren't messing around.
Wow, yeah, so someone up top must have seen something in those early reports that made them think, okay, we got to look into this.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't your typical teenage prank. Because what they found at the site was something else entirely. 3 indentations in the ground. Each one 36 inches across. 3 inches deep.
I mean, imagine the weight it would take, leave a mark like this.
Yeah, like a giant fingerprint.
Yeah.
Pressed into the earth. But there's more. They found a treetop, sheared right off, like sliced clean through. They thought it was sassafras at first, but it turned out to be pecan.
And pecan wood is a lot harder than sassafras. It would have taken some serious force. I mean, way more than, a bunch of teenagers could do.
Yeah, and then there's the final piece, the thing that just blows everything wide open. Around one of the indentations, they found this blue, glassy material.
Oh, yeah. At first, they thought maybe slag, like from metal smelting. But when they analyzed it, it was like nothing they'd ever seen before. I mean, not just a different color or texture, but the composition itself, it was different from any glass we could make back then, or even today.
Okay, hold on. We got giant indentations, a tree sliced clean in half, and now this mystery glass that science can't explain. This is like something out of a movie.
I know, right? That's what makes this case so fascinating. The evidence is there. Something happened that night in Forest City. Something big.
So let's talk about Jerry and Clay. I mean, these guys, they stuck to their story, even when everyone was doubting them, questioning them.
I imagine the pressure. I mean, you're a teenager in a small town. You say you saw a UFO, and suddenly everyone's looking at you, and not always in a good way.
Yeah. There's still so much stigma around UFOs, and back then it was even worse. Ridiculed, called a liar.
Yeah.
It took guts for those boys to keep telling their story.
It really did.
What about the girls, though? Marcy and Ellie. They were there, too.
Yeah, they were. At first, they backed up the boys, said they saw the lights, too, but then they changed their story.
Oh, wow.
You got to wonder what their families were going through, wanting to protect them from all the attention, from the media, from, the ridicule.
Yeah, it makes you think, did they really change their minds? Or were they pressured into it? I mean, if they did see something incredible, that's just heartbreaking.
It is, and it shows you how tough it is for people to come forward. With UFO sightings, the scrutiny, the disbelief, sometimes even threats. It's a lot to deal with.
So we've got these compelling accounts, this physical evidence, and the Air Force's own investigation. You'd think that would be enough. But then, this local photographer, Stu Hadley, he comes forward with photographs of a disc-shaped object in the sky above Parker Woods, taken out of the sighting.
Now, this could have been huge. If those photos were real, it would have been the proof that Jerry and Clay were telling the truth.
Totally. And it was big news. I mean, national news. Forest City was suddenly on the map. But of course, There's a tryst.
There's always a twist.
The Air Force analyzed the photos, the negatives, and they found flaws.
Flaws.
It turned out the UFO was actually a model.
A model.
A small model, cleverly photographed to look much bigger. It was a hoax.
Oh, wow. After all that, it was fake.
Yeah. It must have been so disappointing. For everyone who believed the boys.
Absolutely.
What do you think Hadley was thinking?
Well, he confessed to faking the photos, but he said he did it to help the boys. He believed their story, and he thought that the photos would make people take them seriously.
So maybe he got caught up in it all. But even with the fake photos,
yeah.
the Air Force couldn't just ignore the physical evidence.
No, they couldn't.
Remember those indentations? The soil analysis
Yeah.
showed that an object weighing over 27,000 pounds had been there.
That's heavier than a school bus.
Way heavier.
You can't just fake that.
No way.
Yeah.
And the blue glass, did they ever figure out what it was?
Well, that's one of the biggest mysteries of the Forest City incident. It's made up of elements that we don't normally use in glass making. It's like, I suggest the technology, we just don't have.
So if it wasn't a hoax,
Yes.
what was it? Did Jerry and Clay really see something incredible?
Well, the Air Force, they couldn't explain the physical evidence, so officially, they classified the Forest City incident as unknown, which is almost more intriguing than a definitive answer.
It is. So many questions. What really happened in Forest City? Was it a secret government thing? Some natural phenomenon? Or was it something even more extraordinary?
And that's the core of it. UFO sightings. They make us confront the limits of what we know and consider the possibility that there are things out there we just don't understand yet.
It's almost like we're piecing together a puzzle, but missing some crucial pieces. We have these incredible accounts from Jerry and Clay, this physical evidence that just doesn't add up, and the Air Force's own admission that they can't explain it. So where do we go from here? What are some of the theories that have been put forward over the years to try and make sense?
The Forest City incident?
Well, one theory is that the object could have been some kind of secret government aircraft, maybe a prototype they were testing. In this remote location, it's not impossible, especially considering the time period, the Cold War. Tensions were high. It makes you think about all those stories about Area 51 and experimental technology. Maybe something went wrong. They lost control. And this is the result.
It's definitely a thought-provoking idea. Another theory is that what Jerry and Clay saw was a natural phenomenon that we just don't understand yet. There are plenty of examples throughout history of people misinterpreting events because they didn't have the scientific knowledge.
Right, like people mistaking planets for UFOs. Or maybe some kind of weird weather event that created those lights, those marks on the ground.
Exactly, but that blue glass, that really throws a wrench in things. If it was just a weather event or a misidentified aircraft, where did that glass come from? It's just so unique. It points to something beyond our current understanding of material science.
Okay, so we've got these theories, but none of them quite fit. And then, of course, there's the big one, the one that everyone always thinks of when they hear about UFOs. The possibility that what Jerry and Clay encountered was extraterrestrial.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that really gets people going. The idea that we're not alone, that there are other intelligent beings out there. And maybe, just maybe, they've visited us.
I have to admit, there's a part of me that finds that incredibly exciting, but also a little bit terrifying. I mean, if it's true, it changes everything, our whole understanding of our place in the universe.
It does, but you always have to balance that excitement with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Of course. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And while the Forest City incident is definitely intriguing, we can't just jump to conclusions.
Right.
We just need to be open mind, but also demand rigorous scientific investigation. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll have the technology and the evidence to finally answer the question of whether we're alone.
Until then, we're left with these mysteries, these stories that make us question what we know and wonder about what else is out there.
And maybe that's the beauty of it all, the sense of wonder and exploration that keeps us looking up at the stars and asking those big questions.
I think that's a great point. The Forest City incident and other cases like it, they remind us that there's still so much we don't know about the universe. And that's something to be excited about, not afraid of.
So there you have it, the Forest City incident. A story of strange lights,
Yeah.
unexplained evidence,
And a mystery that continues to fascinate and perplex us to this day. What do you think happened that night in Parker Woods? Was it a government secret, a natural phenomenon, or something truly out of this world? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Keep those minds open. Keep asking questions. And who knows, maybe one day
Yeah.
we'll unravel the secrets of the universe, one mystery at a time. So we left off with this blue glass they found at the site.
Right, like what even is that?
Well, that's where it gets really crazy. When they tested this glass, I mean, they did all kinds of analysis on it. It wasn't like anything they had ever seen before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't just a different type of glass. It was made of elements
Yeah.
that we don't even use in modern glass making. It's like it came from another planet or another time. Whoa. Okay, so we've got these huge indentations in the ground, a tree sliced in half, and this mystery glass that science can't even explain.
Right, and all of this is happening in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is.
So what happened next?
Well, the story gets even wilder. A local photographer, a guy named Stu Hadley, he comes forward saying he has pictures of the UFO.
No way.
Yeah. He claims he took these photos the night of the sighting, and they show a disc-shaped object hovering over Parker Woods.
Okay, so this could be the proof everyone's been looking for.
Right, and at first, everyone's excited. The news picks it up. People are talking about it all over the country.
What happened?
Well, the Air Force, they wanted to be sure, so they took a close look at Hadley's photos, and they found something that changed everything.
What was it?
The photos were fake.
Fake?
Yeah. Hadley had staged the whole thing.
Oh, man.
It turned out he had used a model to create the illusion of a USO.
I can't believe it.
I know. It was a huge disappointment for everyone who thought we finally had proof.
So why would he do that?
Well, Hadley claimed that he wanted to help the boys, he believed their story, and he thought that by creating these photos, he could make people take them seriously.
So he was trying to help.
That's what he said. But it backfired big time.
It definitely made things more complicated.
It did.
But here's the thing. Even with the fake photos, the Air Force, they still couldn't explain the physical evidence.
Right, like those indentations and that weird blue glass. Those things were real, and they couldn't just brush them aside.
So what did they do?
Well, they kept investigating. They interviewed more witnesses. They analyzed the soil. They ran tests on the glass. They came up empty.
What do you mean?
They couldn't find any explanation for what happened that night in Forest City.
So what's the official conclusion?
Officially, the Forest City incident is classified as unknown.
Unknown. I mean, that's crazy. After all that, they still don't know what happened.
I know, it's wild, right? And that's what makes this case so compelling. We have all this evidence, but no answers.
It's like a puzzle with some of the pieces missing.
Exactly.
So where do we go from here? What are some of the theories about what might have happened that night in Forest City?
Well, some people think it could have been a secret government project, you know? Like some kind of experimental aircraft that they were testing.
Okay, yeah. Like Area 51 stuff.
Exactly. Maybe it malfunctioned or they lost control.
Yeah.
And that's what caused all the damage.
Makes sense.
Another theory is that it was a natural phenomenon, something we just don't understand yet.
Like what?
Well, there are a lot of things in nature that can create strange effects, like ball lightning or earth lights.
Right.
Maybe something like that. Cause the lights and the indentations.
What about that blue glass?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. That glass, it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. It suggests a level of technology that we just don't have.
So if it wasn't a government project and it wasn't a natural phenomenon, then what was it?
Well, that leads us to the most intriguing possibility.
You mean?
Aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah. It's the theory that everyone loves, but it's also the one that's hardest to prove.
I mean, I want to believe, but I also need evidence.
Me too. And so far, the evidence is inconclusive.
So what's the bottom line?
The bottom line is we don't know what happened in Forest City, but that doesn't mean we should stop asking questions.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Sometimes the mystery is more exciting than the answer.
I agree. And who knows, maybe someday we'll have the technology to finally solve this case.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But until then, the Forest City incident remains one of the most intriguing UFO sightings.
It's all time.
Thanks for joining us tonight on The Deep Dive. Keep looking up and keep those minds open.
And remember, the truth is out there,